If you've ever opened a betting exchange, you've probably felt overwhelmed by a screen like this. Pink odds, blue odds, money sitting under each price, and then there's new terms like liability staking, lay-in, and of course, decimal odds. Most beginners place one or two random bets, get confused, and give up, simply because nobody explained it properly, even if they know that exchanges offer the most value. This video changes that. In the next 15 minutes or so, I'll walk you through a simple step-by-step beginner's tutorial using real profitable examples with live markets, not just theory. We'll break down back bets, lay bets, liability, why odds move, what matched and unmatched actually means, and the biggest beginner mistakes to avoid. By the end, you'll finally understand what's happening on the screen and be able to use a betting exchange with confidence, without guessing and without confusing maths. So bookmark it, share it, pause and rewind it if needs be, because this is the video that I wish I had when I very first got started. It's going to be jammed with value. Timestamps are in the description down below if you want to skip ahead. So starting right at the beginning with some important context. A betting exchange is completely different from a traditional bookmaker because instead of betting against the bookmaker, you're betting against other people. This is also why the interface looks so confusing at first. Instead of picking a potential winner like you would on Bet365, you get to set the price and choose which side of the bet you want to be on. The exchange simply connects you to someone else who disagrees. Let me explain with a quick comparison. On the left, a bookmaker. On the right, an exchange. When you place a bet with a bookmaker, they have already set the odds. Their goal is simple, to balance their book and factor in the biggest margin they can get away with. To do this, they estimate the probability of each selection and then undercut it. This is why bookmakers' odds are typically bad value for the player. There are exceptions, but I go deeper on those in other videos. However, on a betting exchange, there's no bookmaker margin. You're betting against other users with no margin. And this is why, mathematically, prices are nearly always better on an exchange, regardless of which one you use. If you're having trouble knowing which ones are best, there's a written article in the description down below. Now, to give you a simple example, look at this Premier League football match. Brentford are believed to have a 10.9% chance of winning. Bet365 are currently offering their odds of 15-2 on that particular bet, which is 8.5 in decimal odds, whereas Betfair's exchange has them priced at 9.2. A small difference, you might think, but over time, it's huge. To put it into perspective, a £50 bet on 365 returns £375 profit, whereas on Betfair Exchange, the same bet returns £410. The only difference is the betting exchange. So you're probably wondering, how do exchanges make money? They simply take a small commission on winning bets only, usually between 2% and 5%, depending on which exchange is being used, instead of building it in a hidden margin. It's a fairer, more transparent system. Plus, you can back outcomes to win or lay them to lose, something bookmakers won't let you do. But here's where the beginners usually go wrong. They join an exchange and expect it to work like a bookmaker, but when they come to use it, they see all those blue and pink boxes, decimal odds, flashing numbers, and see terms like liability instead of stake on their bet slip, and it's overwhelming. So let's make this simple. In the next part, I'll show you exactly what back and lay mean and how both sides work together on the exchange. Now, first, let's make sense of the betting exchange interface, because this is the part that makes everything else that follows click into place. On every market, you'll see blue odds and pink odds. The blue boxes represent back bets, a bet for something to happen. The pink boxes represent lay bets, a bet against something happening. They're total opposites. As an example, if I click here at odds of 4.0, I'm saying that I think Julio Coolio will win. Whereas if I click here at odds of 4.0, I'm saying that I think Julio Coolio will not win. You'll notice the numbers are different on the betting slip, but I'll come back to that in just a second. First, I want to make sure that this is crystal clear. In each box, you'll see the odds and a number underneath. That second number is how much money is currently available at that price to be bet. So as people place or cancel bets, those figures update in real time. But here's the part that nobody explains properly. Both back and lay bets need each other. One person's back bet is another person's lay bet and vice versa. So when we place a lay bet, Effectively, we're taking the role of a traditional bookmaker like Bet365. Now, let's go back to my bet slip example. My back bet is on Giulio Coolio to win at odds of 4.0. If it wins, I make £150 profit because the total return is £200. If it loses, I lose my £50 stake. Simple. Now let's flip it around. The opposing lay bet, in pink, is acting like the bookmaker. The stake for this bet is also £50 and the odds are also 4.0 in this example. So if Giulio Coolio loses, I stand to win £50 from the person who backed it, but if Giulio Coolio wins, I have to pay them their profit, which is the liability of £150. You see, it's the same thing, but the other way around. Beginners typically go wrong with this part because they wrongly assume that liability and stake are the same, but they're not. Now, let's talk about cash out because this is where things get interesting for a couple of different reasons. Firstly, on a betting exchange, you get a hell of a lot more value with cash outs than on a traditional sportsbook. You see, a typical bookmaker will apply their margin to the odds that you take when you strike that first bet, and when you cash out, they'll apply their margin again. The end result being, you pay a large margin twice. However, on a betting exchange, not only is that 2% commission minimal in comparison, but you only pay it once on the overall profit you've cashed out for. As an illustration, with a bookie, a £100 bet might lose 5% value on the opening bet and another 5% on the cash out. With an exchange, that same £100 doesn't lose anything on the opening bet or the cash out bet, but pays 2% on the final cash out figure, which is way smaller than the original bets. Secondly, in-play betting odds on a betting exchange are responsive and fast moving. If something changes, you only have to beat other users, not the house. There's more videos about trading the exchanges on this channel if you're interested, but for now, remember this. Backing and laying are just two sides of the same bet. Understanding both gives you total control, and that's why serious players prefer exchanges. Next up, let's look at why those odds keep changing and what matched or unmatched actually means when placing bets. So now we're getting somewhere. You understand how betting exchanges work, and back and lay bets work too. So the next logical step is explaining exactly why the odds move, and of course matched and unmatched bets. Again, this is something that throws beginners off. Let's start with the simple version. Betting exchange odds move because of supply and demand, just like prices on the stock market. When lots of people want to back the same outcome, demand increases and that drives the price down. If we're using betting lingo, that means it shortens or steams. When there's less interest in a bet or more people are laying it, acting like the bookmaker, the price increases. Again, this in gambling terms is the odds lengthen or drift. Think of it like an eBay auction. If everyone's fighting to buy the same horse, the price gets tighter. If nobody's interested, the seller drops their price to attract new buyers. Exactly the same thing happens on a betting exchange, but with betting odds instead of physical goods. Let's have a look at a live example. Here on this market, we can see the current prices where the blue and pink boxes meet. If we click on this little chart icon here, we can see the historical price for this selection. Watch how the chart changes. This is the key. It helps us understand how supply and demand has affected the price here already. Now, what does matched and unmatched mean? When you place a bet on an exchange, you can choose your price. However, it only becomes active once someone is willing to bet the other side of it. It's called a matched bet. So if nobody's willing to match you at that price, your bet just sits there unmatched, waiting for someone else to agree. Again, think of it like placing an offer on eBay. It's here until somebody clicks buy it now. For example, let's say I try to back a horse at 3.5, but the current market price is 3.3. Nobody will take that higher price right now, so my bet sits unmatched. If the odds drift out later to 3.5, it'll automatically become matched. This is why it's so important to understand liquidity, a fancy term for how much money is sitting at each price. The more liquidity, the easier it is to get matched instantly. If you're betting on small markets with hardly any money available, your bets might just sit there doing nothing for ages. It's a common mistake. Beginners often set prices too far away from the market thinking that they're being clever, but the bet never gets matched and they wonder why nothing's happened. always check the money weighting under each price. That's your best clue to where the market's really trading. So to summarise, odds move because of supply and demand, bets are matched when someone takes the other side, unmatched bets are just sitting there waiting, and liquidity tells you how easy it is to get a bet matched fast. So now that you understand why the odds move and how your bets are matched, let's pull it all together in a live example, and I'll show you how this works in real time along with some useful tips. Here we have a live betting market on the exchange. You can see the blue and pink boxes, the money sitting underneath each price, and the current odds shifting as money comes in. This horse, Fat Harry, here is currently traded on the exchange at a price of around 2.96. You've noticed the price is a little fluid, bouncing up and down as money is traded on the exchange. Looking at its price history chart, you'll see it was previously a bigger price with around £12,000 recently matched at the current prices. Now, I'm expecting demand to increase for this horse in just a moment, so for example's sake, I'm going to place a £50 back bet at a price of 3.0 because there's plenty of liquidity currently passing through the market. And almost instantly, you can see my £50 back bet has been matched here on the bet slip with a potential profit of £100. So if Fat Harry wins, we make £100. If not, we lose our £50 stake. Now, when the betting demand increases, the price will shorten. I knew that this would happen because of some information that was released just before I placed the back bet. A few moments later, the price has contracted to a further 2.66. So I'm going to cash out by placing the opposing lay bet. The exchange have made it easy for us to cash out at the current price market with this button here, although we could have done so also by setting a lay bet on the exchange ahead of time. If you take a look at the bet slip on the right, there's a lay bet of £56.38, which has been matched at 2.66. So if we subtract the initial £50 stake from the lay bet stake of 56.38 and we subtract the £93.60 liability from the £100 potential profit, we're left with an even cash out figure of £6.38 either way. It's a win-win situation. Here's my exchange profit and loss statement on this trade to make things clearer. I backed Fat Harry at odds of 3 for 50 quid and then laid Fat Harry at odds of 2.66 for 56.38. The net result was 6.30 in profit either way because commission is on winnings. This means I pocketed a total of £6.25. However, I should say reading the market isn't always this easy. There's a bunch of different variables that contribute to price changes. It's really important to know why things change, as I explained here in this next video with the use of some exchange trading software. Check it out.